So what I was doing is a speed zip. I was starting there at low level, coming across here. Normally I'd come straight across toward me, and then I'd have a clear path and go whoosh. But in this case, what ended up happening is I was slightly off angle and I applied power and then stopped, just in time to hit the tree right up there. So I had to put a ladder on this tree here, actually that tree there, and go straight up, and it was on that branch right there, which is beyond where the ladder taps out. And then I ended up taking a little pulley on a throw string and I threw it to the branch, managed to shake it enough, and then it landed down in the backyard, broke a prop and bent it up a little bit, but now you have tools. I'm going to see if I can get it back together again. So I want to at least run the motors up and see how they sound. Alright. Let's pull this apart, get her back together, and see if she still flies. So, needless to say, it did not work. When I went to fire it up, it gave me a compass error. And even when I reprogrammed the IMU, it still did not matter, because the compass was damaged in the crash. So speaking of the crash, I figured I'd show you exactly what happened from the camera's point of view. So what I was doing is, like I said, I was doing those run-ups and spinning over the tops of the trees. So I get down as low as I possibly can. And if you notice the tops of the trees, you can see how the wind's blowing up there, and it's really not blowing down here on the ground. And that was my first mistake, underestimating Mother Nature. So when I take off from here, I've got a pretty good run on it, but I don't get altitude fast enough. And then when I tried to put the brakes on, it was too late. It was already in the trees. And it was all over but the crying. And unbeknownst to me, when it got released from the trees and we finally managed to knock it to the ground, it snapped off the connector that goes onto the compass. And without that, you can't set the compass and it won't take off anymore. So the only thing that you can do at that point is to reset the connections on that. You can see the trees blowing around in there. That's not from the quadcopter. It's already stopped at this point. That's just from the wind that's happening there. As you can see, this piece is broken off. This is the piece for the compass. It snapped right off the board. And yeah, it's missing one of its legs. So that doesn't bode well. So I'll probably try and cut these wires and solder them directly to the board, but I don't have much hope that that's actually going to work. Bummer. Alright, so you can see I've only got 4 tabs on there right now. There's supposed to be a 5th tab on the end, and that would go right here. And as you can see, there's a blank spot in the center. So that means I'm going to have to go gray and orange for this one and this one. So gray and orange, then I stay away from the center one, and then it's going to be red and brown. So yeah, this ought to be interesting. Got a bunch of other tips, including the one that's in the iron right now. It's my favorite general point tip, but I think what I'm going to use for this particular case is this little creature, because I should be able to get that down sideways, apply solder to it, and maybe that'll give me a better chance at not frying the surface mount devices next to it. We'll see. So first I'll have to get this thing heated up, and then I'll tin this tip because I've never used it before. Good times. We did. Alrighty. Let's unscrew this thing, pull the sleeve off, pull the tip out, drop my other tip in, make sure that's settled in there. I do want to make sure with the way that my line curves, I want to have that tip pointed down to that same direction, just because it's got a natural curve to it, and why bother to mess with things? It'll just make it easier when I'm getting ready to work with it. Because if I can't get this to at least grab solder, that's not going to go well for the rest of this project. Because I need to be able to float a bubble of this on the tip of the soldering iron. Right now it's pushing all away. I may have to sand the end of this because this tip's been sitting in that box unused for a very long time. Alright, stole one of my wife's kitchen sponges. We'll see how that works. A little shinier on the inside. Like I said, this is the kind of thing that you really should have done this ahead of time. Alright. It's a little more silver. And now it's holding solder on the end. Sorry, I know you really can't see most of this stuff. It's pretty wild. But it's holding solder. So I bounce it off, it's gone. So that should be good enough. I should be able to at least solder with that now. Okay, so the way that this sits down on the deck here, these tiny little tabs are supposed to sit in those tabs that are on that board. Obviously I'm not going to be able to solder that stuff on there, but I just want to keep it up here for orientation purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cycle out the first one. Now I know there's a gap in the center, so out of those 5 pins only 4 are being used. So I'm going to cut this first one. They're very tiny wires. I'm going to attempt to strip it with the strippers using super light pressure. Good. That gives me just enough wire sticking out to get some solder on it. So I want to tin this lead ahead of time here. I'm at full extension on my hand, and that's why that's bouncing around like crazy, so I'm going to have to figure something else out here. But I need to get solder on this first. Good. So I got solder on that. I need to shake it off. And then that is going to have to go on that very end one. This ought to be fun and or exciting. Because I can't get too close to that thing to the left. That's a surface mount device. Feels like it's stuck. Clean off all my sponge here. Now we're going to try the next one over. Now this wire is actually damaged previously. I don't know if you can see that nick. That I did not do. Alright, now I need to tin that one. I just want to get it globbed up and worked inside of this thing. Alright, now that one's a bit long. So I'm going to trim that down. Alright, the two on the left don't look bad. The two on the right are scary looking, but from what I can see in real life, they're not touching. So I'm going to have to give another quick closer look at it, and then I'll test it. And if I test it and it works, I'm going to hot glue that and call it a day. But yeah, that's some scary looking stuff. Okay, so I've got it loosely stuck together, and then I'm going to need my phone to test it out. And if it calibrates, then I'll hot glue it and then test it again after the hot gluing, and hopefully it still works. And if it does, then I'll bolt it back together. If it doesn't work after the hot gluing, I think it's pretty much done. Hopefully you're seeing this. I'm actually using the camera at about the same time, and it passed the test. I'm doing left-right checks now. Forward and reverse. And killing it. Alright, that's a success. So now I'm going to go in and hot glue it. We'll put it together and see if it actually flies in any given direction. Alright, I just did a calibration, and now I'm going to fire it up. And we'll see if that goes. Okay, it fires up. Left. Right. And so I got everything soldered in there okay. That brake is OEM. I did not do that. It is hot glued in position. I'm going to slap her back together, and we'll see if she flies. Look at that. They're just babies. There we go. That's clean. And box in that direction. And I'll just hold this with one hand, and I'll turn the blade with the other to cinch it up. I'm supposed to use a tool to do that, but yeah, this is fine. Alright, I started the camera in the aircraft, and I just started this camera, so I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. Firing it up.
Awesome.
Yep. Oh, I need to be pointing higher to be able to see that, I guess.
Come on, please.
Excellent. Alright, now I'm going to switch over to camera mode so I can mess with this a little bit. But I'm going to consider that a win.